Okay, welcome to this video. It's about the power of your intention, and specifically that your intention is divine. Your intention is not of this world. And you might be watching this video right now and you might be thinking, yeah, I know this already. I know about, my intention and I use it. And I'm going to say, no, you don't. Never think you know. There's always levels to it, and there's always ways you can expand your power. Because I thought I knew. I always thought, yeah, I know this already, until I started really getting into more of the work and seeing how I could expand my power. So your will is not human. Your will is divine. It is the part of you that is not part of your personality. It's not part of who you think you are. And they give you hints to this in all these different scriptures and ancient sources, which I'll get to in a minute, showing you and hinting at you that this power that you have in you, your will, your intention, is divine. It's not a human quality. So it doesn't have human traits, limitations, worries, doubts, thoughts. It is a power that creates worlds. It's a power that can undo things or recreate things or break things down or break things up or pull things together. That's how powerful it is. So I want you to meditate on that. Let that unfold in you. The next time you're going to do a visualization, you're going to, say your affirmations or whatever it is you say, rituals, whatever it is you do. When I talk to people, I'm always hearing doubt. I'm always hearing fear. I'm not hearing certainty. I'm hearing hopes and wishes. Or people just saying, why didn't it work? Or I'm doing this and it ain't working. Or I've tried this and it's not working. And it baffles me, because I'm like, wait a minute here. You're getting so caught up on the technique of a thing, which is just a tool, but you're missing the most important part, which is to develop your will. Your will and your intention has to be super clear in order for you to activate that power. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more. I'm gonna quote from a book that I hope you read, because it'll give you a better understanding. So you understand it's not just my words. It's not just me making this stuff up. This is what the ancients have to say about who you are. We all say you got to know thyself, but then we don't know ourselves. We don't know our own basic powers. This is a power that you don't have to earn. You don't have to go to school for. You don't have to be good enough to get. You already have it. It's sleeping in you. And it's polluted with a whole bunch of human thoughts and, your ego's crazy ideas of what you think you are. But nonetheless, it's there for you. You just need to learn how to cultivate it, strengthen it, and your power will go up. And you'll start to see better results in everything that you do. So my approach when I'm working with people is always to assess their will, assess the power and strength of their will and their beliefs. You've got to strengthen that. So I'm going to read you some quotes from this book. It's called, it's a great book that I read. I made some notes here. Kabbalistic Magic, Talismans, Psalms, Amulets, and the Practice of Ritual. Ritual High Magic. Long title, but it's worth the read. It's by Saloma Baal Shem. And what it is, it's a great research document that's also practical, based on ancient Kabbalistic writings. Now, if you're not into Kabbalistic writings or stuff, that's fine. You can do studies on things to understand the mindset. That's what you should be. That's what we all should be doing. What were they doing? How did they think? Why did they do things a certain way? What were they trying to say? When you ask those questions, you're going to see patterns. You're going to see, oh, this is what the ancient Kabbalists were doing. It's similar to the ancient Coptics. It's similar to the ancient Gnostics. Oh, it's very similar to the ancient Egyptians. So this all must have come from a bigger school of study called the Ancient Mysteries, and it got broken up and divided and scattered over time, and people got pieces of it. And you're going to see that. As you start studying these documents, you're going to see patterns, the formulas, names change, and certain rituals and things may change, but the general formulas and patterns are the same to give you the understanding and the mindset you need to have. So this is why I recommend this book, is because the author draws from some of the ancient texts. So you understand it's not just their interpretation. They'll give you some of the ancient texts and then they'll give you their interpretation, but at least you'll have an understanding of how the ancients thought about spirituality, mysticism, the mind, our divinity, magic, and our powers. It's important that you get that source understanding, like papyruses, like ancient scrolls, like ancient texts, because they're going to give you a deeper understanding. And a lot of times they're encoded. A lot of times these ancient documents are encoded. What I mean by that is, they say in these scriptures that, some of these teachers used to speak in parables. Well, they did that for a reason, because the mind learns on multiple levels. Your subconscious learns through stories, allegories, myth. That's a great way to teach someone and encode messages in it. So by you studying some of this source material yourself, it's going to allow your mind, hopefully, to trigger memory in you and to actually pull out your own understandings. So that being said, I'm going to read some quotes to give you an understanding of how serious and powerful your intention is. It says that most people want one. This is a quote from, I can't remember the page, but again, it's near the beginning. Most people want one thing, then another, and so achieve nothing. They cannot keep one thing at a time on their mind. Now, this is an important theme they talk about, that people's thoughts or their mind bounces from one idea to the next idea to the next. And so their will is really weak. And they tell you straight up that a strong will comes from a clear mind that has a definite idea of what it wants. Now, I'm going to deal with each one. What is a clear mind? A clear mind is a mind that is free from worries, doubts, wondering, hoping, wishing, fear. That's a clear mind. The second part, a definite idea. Most people don't even know what they want or why they want it. There are a lot of times they're doing things reactionary out of fear, and they don't really put the time in to figure out what you want. Just figuring out what you want stirs the subconscious mind into action, and half of what you want is already accomplished. The other part, whether it be visualization, whether it be a ritual, whatever it is you're trying to do to accomplish your goal, is really just you carrying out your intentions in a physical way to bring it into form. But the work has already been, half of the work has already been done by just you going through the process of preparing your mind and getting clear what you want and getting yourself excited about it, stirring your emotions, getting your will clear. That's powerful. And I can tell you, I have manifested some pretty amazing things just from those steps alone. Just from really being clear on what I wanted, writing it down, I took several hours just to be clear on what I really wanted, and being able to nail it down to a core sentence. And going through that, I was going through the levels within me of what I wanted, getting clear. And so what I wanted manifested so easy and so powerful for me. And I actually didn't even do any real special type of visualization. I left it at that. So that I always wanted to know why those things happen. Why do you manifest certain things easier than certain things that, you might have messed up on? And I realized it's because of this work involving clarity of your intention. Intention needs to be clear, and you need to have a definite idea. What is it you really want? Do you really want that? What is it about that? What is that thing going to bring you? What's that going to do for you when you have it? These are the questions you need to ask yourself. It's going to access higher level emotions. Now, another quote, just to show you the power of intention, is, and being clear, they say, when there's no passing thought and desire intensifying with it, interfering with it, it intensifies through your might, and it directs it and draws down emanation. So they're telling you, when there's no passing thought or desire interfering with it, so you could have secret desires. You could secretly be sabotaging yourself and desiring that something doesn't come true, or fearing that you won't be able to get it, so all these are competing desires that compete for your intention. You're confusing yourself. You're confusing your divine mind. So it says when you're completely clear and you don't have any of that stuff going on, you actually draw down a power, an emanation. Now, they tell you, they actually call your intention kavana. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, but that seems that way to me. Kavana. Your kavana, they say, is something that is divine. And it has the power to draw down the unmanifest, to draw down anything you want. Read some more to you. When you can direct your intention with concentration, devotion, you can bring forth within you, the emotion and feeling of magical power. You're able to attract the essence of anything you need, anything you want. So they're telling you can draw on any force you want. Anything is yours. Once you're able to be clear in your intention, once you're able to free it from these human issues. Let's get to a little bit more about what that is. So here again, another quote. It says, by the power of your kavana, everything and anything that needs to be accomplished will be accomplished by the Kabbalist. So by the power of your kavana, your intention, anything and everything can be accomplished by the will of the Kabbalist. That's pretty powerful. And it says, you must learn to differentiate between that which comes from the limited world and that which comes from the divine source. Let's deal with that, because this is part of your intentions. So when they say you must learn to separate what comes from the higher world versus what comes from the limited world, they're basically saying you cannot bring your human, earthly thoughts, worries, desires, beliefs to your higher mind, because those are all illusions. So you cannot come into that divine mind with a human perspective. This is what they talk about when they say you cannot get to the Father but yet through the Son. That's another allegorical, metaphysical message in the Bible. They're telling you that you can't get to the higher levels as a human. You've got to be, in other words, born again. You've got to be born again in your consciousness, born into the truth of who you are. Then you can access this power to its fullest. You can't come as your ego, as your human self. So in doing any type of spiritual work where you're trying to create your reality, the preparation you do before, strengthening your intention, being clear on it, affirming it, and strengthening this divinity within you by having a definite and clear aim is huge, is part of the work of accomplishing what you want in your life. It actually stimulates the power, they say, of the unseen, and anything and everything is yours. But you can't get there with a polluted mind. And that's what I see. People have access to all these amazing tools, but they're coming to it with in a hoping and wishing and doubting and in such a terrible human state that they're not going to get the power that they want to get. They're not going to be able to access that realm because they're coming with illusions. So take the time to study this stuff. Take the time to strengthen your willpower, your intention. That's extremely important. And this is a study that the ancients did. They took the time through meditation, through practice, through doing this work and getting results. Their willpower, their intentions increased, their belief in what they're doing started to increase, and so their power increases. You don't got to believe me. Again, this is not my words. This is the words of the ancients, the ancient Kabbalists, ancient Gnostics, which we know they got it from the ancient Egyptians. So this is ancient mystical priesthoods whose information came down the line, and it's been preserved in ancient tablets that they found. So this is where they're getting a lot of their information from. And you can succeed from that. You can win from that if you understand what the ancients were saying, what they were tapping into, and how they were tapping into. You can take your power to a whole next level. But it's not an overnight thing. It's a practice, a commitment, and a discipline of developing and strengthening your will and your belief in yourself, and letting go of your ego, personality, human dimensions that will interfere with it. Let me read some more to you. So they get into some other stuff, but I'll leave that for you to research. I just want to give you some more on this. You say you must unite your will with the highest will, and not your selfish, egoic desires. That's important, and it speaks to what I said. By uniting your will, by freeing it from your egoic mind, you're able to access that divine power. And again, they're hinting at a lower will and a higher will. So it's telling you that you have a lower will, which is your ego, which is your human desires, has a lower, it has lower wants and needs and fears and worries. And you can't really access your power in that state. So when I read this really drove home to me the need to develop my will, because it's telling you that it's not from this world, it's divine. And they make it clear, your kavana is divine. It is not human. It's the part of you that is God. I repeat that, it's the part of you that is God. So you need to identify and link yourself with this part and come to it in a manner of truth and not illusion about yourself. And that's going to require some work. You're going to have to do some work of letting go some old illusionary beliefs and thoughts about yourself and strengthening and affirming the truth of who you are. That's also going to strengthen your will. That's also going to strengthen your intentions. When your intentions are strengthened, when they're pure, when they're powered by your beliefs and they're aligned with the truth of who you are, that's when your magic and your power starts to activate. That's when your words have power. That's, they tell you in the Bible, when they say something about if you have faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. So they're telling you these things coded in these scriptures about the power of your will. And I find it interesting how in this world, we're not taught to develop our will. In fact, we're always taught to develop someone else's will, especially if you're working for somebody or you're buying into a belief system. We're always trying to strengthen someone else's will, and fulfill someone else's intention. But what about your intention? What about your dream? And that seems to get diminished. And then when we come to these sciences, when we come to these practices like meditation, like rituals, like using symbols, like, using creative visualization, I hear the same thing. Oh man, I don't know if it worked. Man, I wasn't seeing results, so I quit, man. All this nonsense. And I'm like, you're playing around. These things work. They've been around for thousands and thousands of years. They built civilizations. They created things that were beyond this world. And because your will is beyond this world, it has access to power that's beyond this world. I want you to think about that. Because your will, your intention, is not human and is not from this world, it has the power to pull new things into this reality that's never been here before. And that's what we do. We create things like hip hop, jazz, blues. We keep creating new things. We keep remixing things and bringing in the new with the power of our intention. And sometimes we do that, by accident or through pressure. We can, the will can come through and we can start creating things in our life, no doubt. But what we're being asked to do right now, if you're serious about developing your mind power, is take the time to not do things by accident, but actually know what you're doing. Know what you're doing and do it so that you can achieve these things more consistently and not by accident. So once again, your will is divine. It's not from this realm, and it has the power to bring things that are outside this realm here. And I guess that's why it's feared. To develop your will is fear. That's why everything is there to distract you. Everything is there to take you out and make you become more human in your thinking, and doubt that you have the power to create your reality. To doubt that you have the power to even shift things. So it's constantly keeping you here and constantly diminishing you, diminishing your worth, diminishing your power. And you're not realizing that you have a power that's greater than anything. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to work for it. You don't have to prove yourself to get it. It is already there. You just have to learn how to use it again. And that requires a focus and a discipline. It also requires a commitment. I'll give you an example how powerful the intention is. Some days that were challenging for me, and I didn't even know how I was gonna get through the day. I didn't even really have a plan. I had a bunch of shit to deal with, work stuff, family stuff, and I'm like, I start off the morning in a ritual, and I program my intent, and I'm gonna tell you, everything lined up because of the power of my intent. I didn't even have to know how things were gonna work out. I didn't even have to know what I was gonna do. I just dealt with what was in front of me at the time. Got rid of that obstacle, moved on to the next. Got rid of that one, moved on to the next. Got rid of that, solved that problem, and then I looked back at the end of my day, and I was like, man, how the hell did I, get through that? Those were mountains, and it's because of that intention. And I was able to get better and better at it because I was strengthening my intention and strengthening my will and reducing the human interference with it. So you got a job to do. You've got to take the time to strengthen your will. You've got to let go of your human thinking. You've got to do what you can to create new beliefs about yourself, about who you are, about your power. You've got to start to live that out, become that, be it, know it, feel it in you. And it's going to strengthen your will. And before you do specific tasks and work, take the time to be clear on it. Take the time to know you can have it. Like, do what you need to do. There's practices that I could show you and other people can show you to strengthen that will, but you gotta take the time to do that. And then when you do your practices, you'll notice that they have much more power. Visualizations take on a life of their own. Your creations start to become magical. That's because you are unleashing your intent on this world. You're unleashing the divine part of you. You're giving it space and room to operate. All right, so I don't see if there's any other quotes in here that I like. I don't want to just keep repeating myself, but repetition is how you learn. So your kavana is everything. So yeah, I'm gonna leave you with this. You've got to differentiate yourself between that which comes from the limited world and that which comes from the divine source. You've got to know that when you're coming to do your work, you've got to let all your human issues go, and you've got to come to it with power, with knowing, with confidence, with a knowing within you that there is no doubt. The more you can do this, it says here, the stronger your Kavana gets. And I'm just looking for the quote. There's a bunch of stuff here. This book is a great book. It tells you how to build up images in your mind. An important thing, it tells you about building up images to help you strengthen your connection with the divine. Because images are really the way to communicate with your subconscious mind. So when you can create images of power for yourself, of your divinity, I did a video on that as well, God in the subconscious mind, you actually start to reprogram the mind. You start to align yourself back to who you really are, and you start to get the human ego out of the way, so it allows your power to flow. So work on your images and your connection with the divine. A lot of people have messed up beliefs about the divine, like, there's a God that's angry and against them. There's a God that's going to punish them. There's a God that's going to, you got to fear God and all, or God is out there somewhere and they're just some lonely small person, or they're born in sin, or all kind of nonsense. So these are all illusions that keep you separated from your Kavana, from your divine will, from your intention, because you still think that you're a lonely human who is sinful and filled with guilt. And I think I need to do another video about guilt, because guilt is wrapped up. It's part of the human stuff that you've got to let go. The idea of guilt is so dangerous because, and they feed it to you in society, is because it makes you feel like you're wrong. Like everything you do is wrong, like you're wrong. And so someone who's filled with guilt is really identified with their humanity. They really think that they are that ego, that self. And they don't understand that that's not who they are. They're actually their divine self. They were created perfect. They're self-created. And, those illusions of sin and all that stuff is just part of the illusion of being down here. None of that is real. It's just real because we've made it real to ourselves. The idea of punishment and all that is an illusion. How could something perfect ever be corrupted? How could something divine ever be corrupted? You're divine, you came from a divine source, and you're going to go back to a divine source. This is just an experience down here. And so these are the things that, letting these things go can help free up the power of your will and your intention, and give you a new start and it'll energize your work. It'll get your work to a level where you're creating miracles. Like I said, sometimes I don't do any type of special visualization. I'll just line up my will. And if I can get my will to a point of power and total faith, total trust, and knowing that, then it takes a life of its own, it activates, and things just happen. One thing I'll leave you with is that I notice that religious people, although they are trapped in a religious, guilty, fearful, programmed mind, certain things work for them. They'll do prayers, they'll do their pujas, they'll do whatever, and they will see results. The problem is they attribute the results to some God or force outside them. That's the problem. But they'll get results. When I speak with conscious people struggle to get results and don't have the degree of trust and faith that religious people do. So although they've broken out of this religious programmed mind, they still don't have trust or real faith or real knowing in the power that's within them. That they still don't. I speak with them all the time and I can hear that they haven't really made that transformation and realization that they are that power. That them and that power are one. And I know we're all down here learning this. You know, nobody's, in our human self, nobody's perfect. I'm learning and I'm not trying to act like I have it all figured out. What I'm saying is, at least I know the path. At least I know the direction and the work. So what I find is conscious people or woke people or whatever, they need to develop. It's kind of like when they you know, so-called threw off the religious mindset, they also got rid of that idea of trust and faith. And so, you know, you got to understand that when you're manifesting, when you're doing these mind power activities, visualization, rituals, whatever you're doing, affirmations, you are stimulating your divine will. And so it can be helpful. This is the idea or mystical concept of surrender. It can be helpful for you to surrender. What they mean is surrender your ego, surrender your mind to the divine within you. And how you do that is, it's not like a religious person where you're trying to you know, throwing it out there to something in the unknown outside of you. You are humbling your ego, your personality, and you're telling yourself that you know that there's a power that's greater than your ego, greater than who you think you are. And that power is going to take care of it. That power is going to handle this. That power is going to make whatever you want happen. So this is something that conscious or woke people need to develop as well in order to get their game up to a whole nother level. Right? You got to have that trust and that real faith in the power that's greater than them but is them. And that's the paradox. It's a power in you that's greater than what you think you are. So you don't have to worry or stress about these things. All you got to do is communicate what you want to this power, and it will take care of you because it is you. And the more you can come to realize that this power is you, you're starting to build a bridge back to who you are. The more you can convince yourself and reprogram yourself that this power is you, is the more you're going to allow it to work for you. And you're actually surrendering. When they talk about surrender, they're talking about letting go of your resistance. You're letting go of the walls between you and your divine power. All right, so I said a lot in this video. I hope you got some good information from it. Contact me, hit me up for personal consultations.